This is your no bullshit guide to a happier life. Quick, but not necessarily easy tips to help you to squeeze every last drop of enjoyment out of your business and your life. My name is Helen Calvert. I'm a coach, a business owner and a parent, and I'm so happy to be here with you. I do swear occasionally, as the title suggests, so pop in your headphones if I'm not safe for little ears. Ready to go? Let's do this. This episode is sponsored by Nicola Phillips of Nicola Jane Landscape Design. Nicola is an award-winning chartered landscape architect with many years' experience in creating dynamic spaces with nature at the core. Based in Stockport, Cheshire, Nicola Jane Landscape Design provides design services from inception through to detailed design within residential, education, commercial and retail sectors. Blending creativity with expert planning, Nicola has extensive experience in working within the residential sector, working on everything from a single dwelling to designing the green infrastructure for hundreds of homes. The emphasis on green infrastructure in our lives has never been so strong, whether that's creating your own private garden to hide away from the world, creating a safe space for your family, or going on a long walk to explore your surroundings. The pandemic has taught us not to take our green spaces for granted. Nicola is passionate about creating beautiful green spaces and educating the younger generation on the magic of nature. To work with Nicola or to find out more about her services, visit njlandscapedesign.co.uk or take a look at the links in the show notes for this episode. Hello and welcome to this episode where we are going to be talking about, is anyone else in your household doing shit? The first thing I have to say, though, is that I have an 11-week-old cockapoo puppy on my lap. Esme has joined the family, and I think I can record with her sleeping soundly, but I'm going to have to get used to recording with Esme in tow, so if you hear some snuffling or puppy noises, we may just need to get used to that. So welcome to the podcast, Esme, my new colleague. But today we are talking about the other people in your household and whether they're doing anything at all. Because this whole season 4, we've been talking about getting shit done and all the different hacks and tips and perspectives on productivity. So how to get done what we want to get done, why we're doing it, how to do it, different mindsets, different challenges. That's what we've been working on. But it's all been focused on what we are doing, what we can do, what we can't do, what we want to do. A really important question, though, is who else is getting stuff done around you, in your life, in your environment? If we were in an office environment, most of us, I know, in this audience are self-employed, but if we were in an office environment, if we were working for someone, for a company, maybe you are, we would understand that everyone has their roles, everyone has their responsibilities, everyone pulls together, and it falls apart when someone doesn't do their job. It's exactly the same in a household, but we don't approach it that way, and then we wonder why it all goes tits up. So there's a few different elements to this, and one of them could easily become very gendered because there's a lot of information out there about the mental load that women bear, particularly mothers, working mothers, women with children, women running households, etc. And the narrative is that, a lot of men are underfunctioning and basically a bit crap. Now, statistically, that may well be a common thing. It's certainly a theme I see a lot with my clients, but I am not about to buy into the narrative that women are this, men are that, other genders don't exist, etc. So I'm going to try and talk about this in a non-gendered way, because what it's actually about is over-functioning and under-functioning people, and they can come in all genders. But the resources I'm going to put in the show notes for this episode all focus on it being a male-female problem. And I think they're useful resources because what they can do, if you have an under-functioning person in your household, these resources can help explain to them what the mental load is and why it's a problem that you're carrying it alone. And there's different things. There's things for them to read, there's things for them to watch, depending on how they take in information. So head to the show notes and have a look at those resources. But the issue is that too often there is one person doing everything in the household and one person who's basically a bit like an underling, right? So it's not that they don't do anything. They do all kinds of stuff, they mow the lawn, they empty the dishwasher, they take the bins out, blah, blah, blah. What they don't do is think about any of it. So perhaps they need to be told what needs doing. Perhaps they want to help, but they say, well, tell me what you need me to do. So you have to think of the jobs. Or perhaps it's just that they do stuff, they can tell dinner needs cooking or they can tell the dog needs walking, but it's you that thinks, oh my goodness, I'm going to need to buy a new school uniform this summer, or the kids are growing out of their shoes, or we need to sort out a birthday present for so and so. All the thinking, all the planning, all the mental load. If you are taking on all of that, then that's another reason why you're finding it hard to get shit done, because you've taken on too much in a household that should be partnership. Now, of course, this also goes for households with teenagers in or with other adults in. Who should be a part of your team? The big question is, who has the capability and intelligence to do things? Because here's our first mindset block alert. I say first, we're going to have a few. So our first mindset block alert, they can't handle it. Bullshit. Bullshit. The other people in your house, unless they are young children or have learning disabilities, some kind of, learning delay, the other people in your house are just as capable as you are of thinking and doing. Okay? We have been gaslit to believe that this amazing stuff that we do, all this stuff we do, we're so talented, we're incredible, we're so good at it. No, it's because we've been gaslit to believe we're the only people who can do it, and it's bullshit. Everybody else is perfectly capable, they just don't do it. And why are we good at it? Because we've practiced. Why are they crap at it? Because they haven't. So they need to get some practice in. Our next mindset block alert is that it's not very romantic. So if you are in a long-term relationship, it's not very romantic running a household. It's not. If you thought that relationships were hearts, flowers, unicorns, sex and passion and all that good stuff, and they are and they can be, that's great. But running a household is a different thing. And too often we find someone, we decide we're going to live together because they're so amazing. And at no point do we ever actually sit down with them and say, right, we're actually going to undertake the project of running a household together. Okay, that's nothing to do with our sex life. That's nothing to do with our romance. That's nothing to do with how wonderful we both are. This is now to do with a big project we're taking on together. How are we going to do that? What did you sign up to? Did you sign up to be the one bearing the entire mental load? Did you sign up to be the one figuring out all the logistics of everything? Of course you didn't, because you didn't sign up to anything, did you? Because you never had this conversation. Now is the time to have this conversation. It's not romantic. This is a project like any other project. This is running a household, which is just as complicated as running a business, and it needs to be approached as such. And everyone needs to know their role and the expectations, and everyone needs to be, on the team. This is a team effort. And if somebody doesn't understand that, it's possibly because they haven't had it explained. If somebody does understand that and chooses to still be a complete waste of space, that is a separate problem. And you may need to review whether you still want them on your household team, because, yeah, this is a big project. Which brings us to our next mindset block alert, which is, but I'm asking too much. Well, we've all been gaslit for years, haven't we, to believe that our very basic, completely reasonable requests are too much. Very interesting, isn't it? Bringing it back to gender for a moment, if you are a woman in a relationship with a man, I would ask you to consider if your best friend, if your female best friend moved in with you and it was you and her, what would you expect her to do? If it's more than you would expect him to do, I need you to have that conversation with yourself, because the amount we expect from men is pretty rubbish and it infantilizes them. And as I say, I don't want to make this about gender more than it has to be, because underfunctioning people come in all genders. But if there is an underfunctioner in your life, enabling them to continue to underfunction is infantilizing them. And it actually does nothing for their confidence at all. So they may think that it's great that you do everything, but actually they're going to go through life thinking they're incapable, and they're absolutely not. It is not too much or unreasonable to ask for someone to be an equal partner in the household team. And I mean equal. Not, oh, he does this, he does that, he does the other. Yeah, great, but who does all the thinking? An equal partner. This is a partnership business running a household. And if you are doing it alone because you don't have another adult or competent person in the house with you, you know full well how full on it is. But actually, if you're doing it alone without someone else there, it's easier than doing it alone with another adult getting in the way in a lot of ways. Which brings us to our final mindset block alert, which is, but I'm not perfect either. So this is again where we get ourselves tripped up, because we think, well, yeah, I could ask them to do this and that and the other, but then they're going to say, yeah, but you don't do this and you don't do that. No, none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect. You don't have to be perfect in order to expect more from somebody else. Go back to what we said at the start about being in a business, in an office. Joe Blogg's not doing his job properly has got nothing to do with whether or not you're doing your job properly. He needs to fulfill his role. Sandra needs to pull her socks up regardless of whether you've made a mistake this week or not, right? So I know I'm being quite straight down the line with this, and of course it is way more complicated than I'm making it out to be. And of course, everyone's circumstances, personalities, upbringings are different. Of course they are. And it's something I work on one-to-one with my clients. And if you would like to speak to me about it one-to-one, please do get in touch, because it's something I very much enjoy working with people on. But the simple fact is that there is no reason that you should be taking on all of the headspace alone, unless there is literally nobody else to share it with. There is no reason those other people cannot do what you do. There is no reason why they shouldn't do what you do. And it's about time we enabled people and empowered people to be their full, capable selves. Because no, it's not easy, but it feels a damn sight better than being a drag on the ticket and a total waste of space. So, this is the no bullshit guide. This is a real no bullshit episode. I want you to think clearly about your expectations and how much, not help, how much partnership you truly get. And if it's not good enough, then the first step is not to just boot somebody out of the house unless you want to, in which case go for it. The first step is the conversation. It's the conversation of, this is the reality right now. And they probably need to see the massive list, or, what actually goes on, what's actually in your head. Here's the reality right now. How could we do this better? And I think that's a really important starting point, because if you go in with, I need this from you, you are still the one doing the thinking. You're figuring out what you need. Far better is to sit down with them and say, right, this is everything. How can we split this better? And see what they come up with. Let them do some thinking for a change. Let them come up with some solutions. Might tell you that some of the stuff you're trying to do is pointless. They might say, God, stop worrying about, Auntie Gladys's birthday. I haven't spoken to her in years, couldn't give a toss, forget that. And they might be right. But also, I promise you, there will be plenty of things that they can quite happily take on the thinking for, as well as the acting on. So, I am so curious to hear your thoughts on this.